Hello, adventurers. Welcome to the Ashes of Creation July. Sorry, we're laughing. Development update. We hope everyone has been well and safe. We're laughing because we accidentally thought they were. We thought we were in broadcast mode, and we were not.
John just messaged
And
and
I was like,
said,
I'm anxious. And then Steven's like, don't worry, we do this every month. And then Kyle's like, we were live. Sorry.
John just messaged me and he said, babe, y'all are live. Awkward.
So that's why we're laughing. If you are joining us and wondering, we're not, laugh with us. But of course, I am Margaret Crone, your Director of Communications, and with us, as always, is Stephen Sharif, our Creative Director. We have so much stuff that has happened over this last month. This live stream, we're going to be covering what we've accomplished, what we are focused on as we move forward towards phase 3, and then our feedback loops and QA process. We're actually going to be bringing on our QA manager who's going to be talking over all of that stuff, which will be very exciting. And then we will
Yes.
also be doing a little preview on Towns and Crate system as well in game, and that will be a live in-game segment. So pray for us all, and
Yes,
then we'll do a live Q&A after that.
and we have a little announcement for this weekend's PTR testing
Yeah,
with a little contest and ability to win
not a
some,
contest,
or
a
sorry, not a
surprise and
contest, I'm
delight.
sorry, a surprise and delight where you could potentially get a mount. So
Yeah.
it's going to be exciting.
We'll talk a little bit about that in the QA process segment, so we hope that you'll stick around with us for all of the fun. Also, we have some other stuff going on, which we'll talk about in the reminder section here. But before we get into all of that, we would like to spotlight our YouTube commenter. And today's YouTube spotlight comment is from Retro64. And if you would like your comment spotlighted, all you have to do is subscribe to us over on YouTube. Make sure your subscription is a public subscription. I don't know why they differentiate those two. And then, of course, leave a comment for us on our development update, the Prime development update video, and you could be selected. So for this one, it says, for me regarding gear to chase, it's dungeons, as it's usually better than anything crafted. But hopefully this can change with AOC. Everyone loves dungeons, but they're like chocolate, nice to consume. But if you have too much, and you'll end up a little sick. Many MMOs focus too much on instance content, and this causes or caused issues with the world, making it feel pointless. So that's kind of their comment. I don't know if you want to add anything about that
Is there a
topic.
question there?
There's no
Is that
question. Not
oh,
all.
okay.
Not. I
Just an
mean, it's random.
observation.
It's random. I think that what they're asking for here is for crafted gear to be pretty like on par
Well,
with not just dungeons.
we have a famous saying, and that is crafters make the best shit. That is still true, and we have a lot of work that's going into the economy revamp. Of course, it's not going to be perfect with the start of phase 3. It is going to be thank you. Corey just handed me a awesome hat that I can help to display this truth. That is the crafters wear the best shit hat.
Was that
Wait, no.
crafted?
Yeah, this was crafted. Actually, I think that was by Vladis, wasn't it?
Nice.
No, but yeah, to answer your question, yes, crafters are going to make the best shit. We're doing a significant amount of work on the economy side. Corey, Mike, Chantel, Rhett, they're doing a great job with that. Of course, it's going to be a first pass on this revision and revamp. We're going to collect data from the start of phase 3 to help inform it, change it, and address issues that are obviously going to come up with that testing. But to kind of answer the point of the comment there, we don't have a lot of instance content, first and foremost. We do have a delivery method for gear, and that is very rare drops, of course, from farming monsters or mobs where you can get some eureka moments. That's going to be obviously a staple that we want to maintain, but it's not going to compete with the people who are dedicating their time and focus and energy on leveling up their crafting, on acquiring resources, on cornering markets, and providing for the player base. I mean, that is where you're going to have more granular control over the types of sets and gear pieces that you can create and that players are going to seek. In addition, we're revamping our grade system as well as some of the tiers within each grade and how powers and stats apply to these different types of equipment. And the lowest tier of those are going to be available through the drop system. The best of those are going to be primarily acquired through crafting. So Just
Your
to give
dreams
insight.
will come true.
Yes.
Um, yeah. And with that, we're going to switch on over to our reminders. And at the top of that, we have our new Alpha 2 and PTR testing dates. So be sure to check that out. We have an article over on ashesofcreation.com/news. Always make sure you check the latest news article because obviously, as we have new news, other articles will go out of date. So just make sure that you're checking that. But you can see our schedule. We're actually going to keep the Alpha 2 rooms up until August 4th, and then we'll move back to Thursdays to Mondays, where we're going to be closing at 6 p.m. Pacific instead of 10 p.m. Pacific for those. And then we will also have PTR 24/7. We've been doing a whole bunch of testing over there. We'll be talking about some more of that later as well during the QA segment. But we also have a little thing going on in chat here. We did do a little Gleam giveaway as well for those who have followed us on all of our social platforms. But now, as a little thank you for joining us for today's stream, we are going to be doing a little Alpha 2 access giveaway in chat. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. We'll be asking for some keywords. Make sure that you paste those in there. Just only do it once, otherwise it'll disqualify you. You will only get a DM from our Ashes of Creation channel, so make sure that you're not answering other people's DMs. And we're not actually going to give away a code. It will be through another means. So just making sure that you're really only answer, like don't get scammed is what I'm saying. It will only come from the Ashes of Creation like official channel. And with that, the other things that we have going on are a dev discussion. So let's talk quests is the current one that's up there. The team is gathering a whole comprehensive sentiment on quest. We're going to be doing a lot of revamping to our narrative content. So we're just kind of gathering some feedback from your guys' perspectives. So make sure that you share that. And our next one that will be coming up is going to be all about archetypes, archetype vibe check. So make sure you keep an eye out for that and let us know what you're feeling, how you're feeling about them. I love this asset. I don't know why I like the little radial with all the
Oh yeah, well, it's because
emblems.
Natalie did such a great job with those emblems. They look so good. That's probably why you love it.
And then Mike made this like cool radial with it. I don't know. It just looks,
Yeah,
the asset just looks cool.
it's a
Um,
nice color palette there too.
yeah, I think it just looks cool. Beyond that, we have our creator program. We still are in an application phase. We are going to probably close that for a short period while we do an invite phase, but we're still in an application phase for right now. So make sure that you get your application in now. If you want to be in that first wave with us, we would love for you to join us. If you know anybody who's a content creator and you think that they should come join us, make sure to share that with them as well. And we are hiring. We have filled so many roles. Now you can see that those roles have slimmed down on that page. We used to have that page just full of roles. We've definitely filled a lot of roles and we are pumping and creating, or as some kids call it, cooking. Um,
We are cooking.
we are very
Skippity
much
doo, whatever they say.
just say random words. But we're definitely moving and grooving. If you see anybody who would fulfill these roles, these are definitely ones that we're trying to fill right now. So help us out, share them. We also have a general application on our site too. So if you are somebody who is really talented and maybe you recently got laid off or anything like that, and you're still looking for a place and you want to find a home and you think you could provide something great for us at Intrepid, feel free to still apply through that means as well. I think that's it. I think I got through all of the reminders.
You did it. See,
Yay!
you're no longer anxious.
My anxiety does go away. I don't know why, but sometimes I just feel like a moment of anxiousness
No,
before I
I
go
get it.
live.
I get it. That's why I just parachute in, right? You do the run of show stuff, and then I just come in the last 5 minutes. I don't even have time to get anxious. It's just like, throw me in, coach.
But then I get anxious because you go off script. So it's a roller coaster for me. But with that, we're going to move into what we've accomplished. But in order to do that, we feel like we need to bring on Zachary Strange. So we're going to take a quick break while we bring him over, because obviously we've made some big feats on the engineering side and we would like them to speak for themselves. So we'll be right back in a quick moment. we are back with Zach, which he was like, you used my official name. Like, it feels like his mom was calling him or something. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said your full name. We never call you that. We always call you Zach. So,
Yeah, that's why it was very weird.
Zach, if you kind of want to recap for maybe some of the new viewers here, what you do, what your title is, and then we can get into some of the amazing things that we've accomplished already throughout these last few months. Well, actually, from the last month that we streamed to now.
Yeah, I'm Zach. I'm the technical director here. I work on most things on the tech side. Originally, when I got here, I was working on the networking stack, and now I kind of go to whatever needs help. Sometimes it's networking, sometimes it's gameplay. Just go around.
Sometimes it's me calling Zach at 2 in the morning. Help.
Oh, please, please no. The servers are down.
Zach has gotten too many calls at 2 in the morning.
Yes.
It's fair. It's fair. But one of the big things that we've accomplished over this period of time while we've been testing between phase 2 and phase 3 is dynamic gridding and server performance. I'm going to hand it off to you to kind of talk about what your team has been able to accomplish and the amazing things that we've done and the testing that we've accomplished on the PTR and what you guys have been getting out of that and what you're working on as you move forward towards phase 3.
Yes, that is a lot. That is a big question.
Yeah.
So dynamic gridding. Let's start with that. So 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, some period of time, we tested dynamic gridding for the first time in a controlled setting on the PTR, which is a huge accomplishment compared to, like it has been a very, very long road to get here.
Yes.
Very, very
You could
long.
say that twice.
And if you haven't watched, Zach and his team did an amazing presentation on our YouTube. So if you go to our YouTube for Ashes of Creation, we did a whole stream about dynamic gridding and went over like what it is and how it functions and stuff like that. We're not going to go over that here, but
Yeah.
if you want after the stream, go check that out so that you can be educated on that front. It's a lot of technical stuff. So
yeah,
if you're
it's
not
very
into that,
deep,
you know.
But so throughout the course of the month, we've tested dynamic gridding a few times, and we found some problems, and it's basically we're in that phase where we're just going to keep testing and keep finding problems until it's good enough, and then it turns on permanently. I get for those who remember the original Intrepid net testing, I'm sure Maggie does, when we used to like line people up and put them through portals. It's kind of like that, where we're like, okay, everyone come here, we're gonna do some splits. What did you guys all see? And then we collect our bugs and we move on to our next phase of testing, or we go back and we do some fixes. It's just gonna kind of keep doing that loop until we're really happy with how it's performing. But the initial indicators are really, really good because we were having some issues where the transfers and splits were taking a really long time. And the team has been doing amazing work and has sped them up a lot in the last month. Did I answer?
Awesome.
Did I get everything?
Yes,
I
you
mean, you
did.
tell me.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, and I think not only have they stood up dynamic gridding, and obviously we're still doing some testing before we want to launch with that. We also switched to Unreal Engine 5.6, and switching to an engine is not an easy feat.
It was
So
not.
would you like to talk a little bit about that and how that's been going for you guys? Or, I mean, it happened, so.
Yeah, it's happened. So if you're playing the game on the PTR, you're on the 5.6 version of the game. I think last time I was on, we were discussing the 5.5 version of the game and how we decided we weren't going to go with 5.5. It's not good enough. We were having issues with it being stable and being performant. So I think that was a week or two before 5.6 came out. We were literally just waiting for 5.6 to come out. As soon as it came out, Andrew and I, we just went running and we were like, okay, let's get the game running on 5.6. Whatever it takes, let's just make it happen. We got it done in like 2 or 3 weeks, and we got it into our development stream. And I think the results have been really, really, really good from being on 5.6. I think performance is a lot better. I would say stability is also a lot better, just like based on the metrics we collect. I think overall the game is in a much, much better place on 5.6 than it was on 5.3. If you were, experiencing a lot of GPU crashes or per performance, I think it will be substantially better on 5.6.
Yeah, and you guys can test this yourselves because currently on production, the live environment, it is still on 5.3. So
You can do the
want,
testing.
you want to log in
yeah.
and do A and B, and you can just kind of see the difference. It's a significant benefit, and I know Zach and And was it Andrew as well that
It was
worked with you on
Andrew, yeah.
5.6? Yeah.
No.
Both of you guys did a heroic job getting that done over the course of a very short period of time and with actually much less conflicts than you guys were expecting.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
like
people are wondering if it's been easier to switch to new engines over time, or do you feel like it's always like a
um
feat?
I mean
And obviously oh, go ahead.
yeah. It's always a feat, but it's a known feat now. Like it's not like when we're doing an engine upgrade, we kind of know what it's going to take and how long it's going to take and how much effort it's going to take. Going to from 5.3 to 5.5 was really difficult because it was just so many changes because it was two major engine versions. But 5.5 to 5.6 actually wasn't too bad. It just once we got it working, it wasn't like the game wasn't fundamentally broken. The game mostly worked and we could just start testing with QA.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and we were originally going to do 5.5, right?
Yes.
But we decided to go to 5.6. Do you want to talk a little bit about that as well and the reasoning?
Yeah, I mean, like for us, it was all about the stability. Before we, deploy a build to even all of our developers, we do a studio playtest where we have everybody patch the game on the latest engine version, and we make sure and we watch our metrics. We watch performance, we watch stability, we watch crashes, we watch all of these things on our back end. And when we tested 5.5, our devs were crashing. I think it was probably 1 in 10 was crashing, but we're also all on the the issue in 5.5 that was very specific to blocking us was an issue with I think 3 and 4,000 series NVIDIA cards, and that's pretty much the entire studio here.
Yeah.
So that's why everyone was hitting it, and then we looked at what our player base had, and I think we're like 50% or something on 3 and 4,000 series NVIDIA cards. So we were like, okay, we obviously can't ship this. This is not good enough. So then we decided, okay, let's try 5.6 and see if we have the same problems, and we did not.
Yeah. Remember we talked about this in the past where we did an analysis of our existing playtest population's hardware and saw that over 50% would have suffered from the crashing bugs of the 5.3. So unfortunately, that made it a no-go for us.
Yes.
At least 50% of the NVIDIA users.
Yeah.
So just kind of recapping that, if you haven't been following us for a while, why we just, because I think our previous announcements were 5.5,
They were,
but
yeah.
then we did switch it over to 5.6. So just giving some insight into that. So thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. Some other things, and Stephen, stop me if you want to add some extra context here that we are, really proud of our team for is, we've done a lot of time to kill analysis. Thank you so much for everybody who's been coming in and helping us test those things. This is helping us, fine tune our combat pacing and our enemy health. And obviously, we're not completely done with that. We still have some other tuning that we're working on. You're going to be seeing more of those testing cases coming in on the PTR over these next couple weeks. We also have been doing a massive change on the early gameplay flow, including how quickly players obtain mounts, tools, find their first questing hubs, things like that. That work is still in the mix. We also are going to be doing some major tests with that with the anvils. I believe that's scheduled for next week sometime on the PTR, but don't come at me. But we are going to be looking over that and making sure those new changes are actually super beneficial and helpful for you guys. So we appreciate the feedback on that front. And then we also have node progression and player behavior. We've been doing so much tracking on data, and that has allowed us to see a lot of what you guys are doing, kind of being able to analyze what you guys are doing and versus like what we, want you to be doing or would like to see being done. We've been tracking how players interact with the world, how you level up nodes, how you're engaging with meaningful choices, or what choices you're choosing of those. Like if everyone's choosing this and not the other two, maybe we need to make those more meaningful, right? So we're really analyzing that and going into what we're creating on the content side and the system side. Speaking of which, we did talk about this in a previous live stream as well, but I know it's a huge excitement for you guys. We did get guild storage in the game. So guild storage system testing has happened. We are, introducing and iterating on the shared storage solutions for guilds, ensuring that the functionality and security and ease of use is there for organized play. So we're definitely working towards making sure that you guys get some more of those guild tools. And I know that's a big one that you guys all have been really, really excited about. And Stephen, is there anything else you want me to bring up on the accomplishment side? Obviously, there's been a lot that the team has been working on.
Yeah, no. I think if you guys are you talking about the article that we put out with the what we're still going to be working on up
We're
for
going to move into what we're focusing on in the
got it.
next part.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, no, that sounds good. Perfect.
Cool. Perfect. Zach, is there anything else you want to add before we switch over? We are being a little bit more conscious for time today. We can't go on a 3 hour live stream for you all. We have a leads meeting, so we're actually keeping it to the time schedule this time around. But
No,
Zach, is there anything else you want to let the folks know?
no, I think just that the team is doing a great job. I think there's a lot of people working really, really hard right now, trying to
Yeah.
get everything done for P3, and I think everyone's doing a really good job. It's if you played the PTR 2 weeks ago versus today, you can see it. So they're doing a
Yeah,
great job.
the other thing, Zach, that I think is really important for people to hear as well is that for the teams that aren't finishing up, what we're going to talk about next segment here on what's outstanding for phase 3, the rest of the team is going to be focusing on burning down our outstanding
Our bugs, yeah.
And so you guys are going to see some significant, I think, improvements against some of the bugs that you've been experiencing on PTR over the course of the next 3 to 4 weeks, which is going to obviously create a much more enjoyable testing experience. As well. So, these are periods of time where we harden the code that we have created. Sometimes that can create additional bugs. And as part of that process, expect to see some of those updates coming up.
All right. Well, with that, Zach, thank you for your time. We're going to swap over, and Steve
Thank
and
you,
I are going to
Zach.
cover a
Thanks,
couple
guys.
things, and then we'll be bringing on Hector, who's on our QA team.
Exciting.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Woo! So now we want to talk about what we are focused on and set some expectations on this front. I think for the caveat here, I want to make it very clear to folks that we are not adding any additional scope. I know there's been some folks who are like, "Oh, you've given yourself some more time. Are we going to see Summoner? Are we going to see, the list continues, right?" We are not. Our focus is going to be on, really fine-tuning the things that we have on our list and ensuring that they're in a good place for us to move forward. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that
Yeah, I mean,
first.
yeah, let me
Go
let me
ahead.
elaborate just a little bit on
Yeah.
that, obviously. A lot of people think with regards to the delay that we announced from August 4th to August 26th, that we should be spending some additional time, or that we should be beyond that, or that we should be adding additional features and or content during that time. And really, that's not the goal of why we're giving that additional time to the teams. We have a schedule to keep with regards to our milestones. We have a milestone that precedes this milestone and that follows this milestone, and we don't want to spend too much time interrupting that schedule. So what we do, and just so you understand the process, obviously when we move into milestones, that's a collaboration between the directors of the team and the leads of the team, as well as the individual contributors on the teams to kind of scope out, priority order what's important from a feature standpoint versus a content standpoint, and tackling perhaps even some technical debt and bugs. And once we arrive at a kind of stack rank of what those options are for us, we then move into a scoping exercise where each of the teams will kind of spend time identifying the scope, the dependencies, the downstream effects of that work. And then we come back and production puts that into a schedule for us. And that's how we arrive at our milestones. Now, what we did as part of our review period at the end of this last milestone leading into phase 3 is we determined that there were still a few teams that needed to go beyond what was estimated or scoped for some of the tasks that we had identified for this milestone and for the entrance of phase 3, and we had them re-estimate what was required in order to land those features and content, and that arrived at a August 26th date. So we don't want to add more to the bucket, nor do we want to extend the milestone beyond that, because we have stuff we need to test that influences future milestone work. And this is important for us to keep on a cadence, obviously. So just to give you guys context there, and we'll go over, here what it was specifically, so you guys have some insight and some transparency from a development standpoint of what we needed to focus on further for the entrance of phase 3. And a big part of that, obviously, is the anvils. The anvils is a huge amount of playable space. It's roughly 72 square kilometers within itself. Obviously, we are not intending for the anvils to reach parity at its initial debut with the Riverland starting zone. However, it does need to be functional from a first-time user experience standpoint, and directing players out into the nodes, which is our essential golden path. So environment has a lot to chew there. There's a lot of new prop sets and faction sets and building sets that's necessary to build the interior of Mount Dune. There's a lot of lighting efforts that's required, especially for the interior spaces, which can be a little bit of a difficulty given the constraints that Lumen has for large interior spaces. But we have some great tech art teams and some lighting teams that are going to be addressing that and have addressed that. You'll get some insight to that over the course of this month. I know some of you who are on the PTR have already had access to Mount Dune and can see the grandeur that is there. It is super exciting to see as well. But on top of the anvils work, we obviously had, let me see where we are here. Here we go. So on top of the anvils work, we also have nodes level 4 and vassalship, which required a little bit of extra set dressing love from the systems team to land. We had some tool iteration that needed to be done from a data entry perspective, so that we get the layouts and the districts within nodes 4 that you'll get a little bit more insight to when we have Chris join us for that walkthrough and Bill join us for that walkthrough. On top of that, there was still some outstanding narrative work that was necessary on the first time user experience. This is relating to bringing players into that anvil zone, having that narrative be kind of compelling and walk players through their journey to the nodes. There was also, as I said, some lighting bugs, maps that we had to fix, and the interior spaces. I talked a little bit about that. The other big one was
first time user experience isn't just anvils too. There's some changes for Riverlands that are coming as well. Just as a
we did a
FYI.
little bit of a revamp in the Riverlands as well as part of that effort. The economy and the stat rebalance, that was a big one, still is a big one. And while a majority of that work is completed in time, unfortunately, that scope of work really needs to get hammered from a testing perspective. And so we wanted to provide the economy team with sufficient amount of effort from our testing population on PTR in order to inform what changes and iterations we need to make before we make it to the start of phase 3, because obviously the economy is a hard thing to roll back or fix on the fly. And we want to be able to collect relevant and actionable data with the start of a new server like the phase 3 is going to provide. And of course, the last big component is dynamic gridding. We did have a very successful initial test with dynamically adding and removing workers to the grid, which is, as far as I understand, a world first from the engineering team. So super excited about that. But we still have some outstanding bugs that we want to address there. We're leveraging our internal bot systems in order to provide additional data, and our gameplay teams to address some of the some of the requirements on the code side from those gameplay teams to accurately handle the server splitting. So that hopefully gives you guys some insight as to why we were over on our estimates a little bit and what we're still going to be working on outstanding over the course of this month. But we hope to be in a pretty good spot come the 26th.
Yeah, I think that covers most of that.
I know I talk really fast. I'm sorry. There's just a shit ton of information.
You should hear him ramble off in like the PI meetings. Some people are like, is someone taking notes? But yeah, we just wanted to recap all of that for folks. I know not everybody reads articles or clicks or is on social media. Some of you prefer to get your news through video format. So, and this is obviously our big format for that. So just trying to make sure that in all the places it's there for you. But we are working towards that new August 26th date, and we will share with you guys all of the details as we move forward. But this hopefully gives you some insight on the shift to that date, what we've accomplished so far, which is no easy feat. And I really did want to bring Zach on for that, because dynamic gridding, as Stephen said, that is a world first, which is pretty amazing within itself. And we have a lot of work to do. So we're going to be focusing heads down on that and iterating and, working with PTR testers to test a lot of the new changes and iterations that we're making on that front. And things are happening fast. We're making builds almost daily. Sometimes I think it's like 3 times a week now, which is a lot as they move up the streams all the way to the PTR stream, which is our internal staging stream. before it goes to prod, which is Alpha 2 for you guys. And with that, we have a QA process that we're going to share with you on how those bugs get resolved and how those things get moved up. So we're going to take a quick break and bring on Hector, who is one of our QA team folks, and he's going to walk you through that process and give you some information on how that all works. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We have a new face. I don't think you've ever been on our stream before, have you, Hector?
I've not. This is my first time.
Yeah, your first time.
Exciting.
Exciting. Well, introduce yourself. Tell people a little bit about who you are, obviously what you do
Sure.
here at Intrepid, and give us a little, something someone doesn't know about you, maybe.
Sure. I actually started my career working on MMO. So many years later, Steven brought me on board, and now
It's
he's
full
like, "Hey,
circle.
absolutely full circle." And he's like, "Do you want to work on another MMO?" I'm like, "Absolutely. Let's do it all again." So I started on WoW, worked at Blizzard for quite a long time, went to Riot for a little bit, and then now I'm on Ashes at Intrepid. So I'm excited to be here. Fun fact about me, my first language is Spanish, actually. I was born in Mexico. So proud roots, proud culture.
You bring me my favorite candy whenever you come to the studio, which I love.
Yep. That spicy tamarind candy or tamarind candy.
I still have some of it next to my desk here.
Nice. That's
All
super
right.
awesome.
I love it.
I love it as well. I know that our Spanish folks out there will probably love seeing that. Maybe you can chat with them a little bit.
Absolutely. I've joined some of the Spanish guilds. They just didn't know it was me.
Nice.
So I won't reveal my actual in-game username, but I float around playing in Spanish guild. They just don't know it.
People are like, is it him now? Now they're going to start listening to your voice and try to get you. Like Steven, you have to use a little voice modulator.
Hector also brings the tequila to our leadership meetings, to our director meetings. So
I do after long days of talking about bugs. Yes, a drink is much needed.
He used to have like this bar of tequila behind him. I don't know what happened with that.
It's there, but you know what? When I get stressed out, I need chaos to be controlled, and I didn't want hundreds of bottles around my desk. So they're moved. They're somewhere over there hiding.
I'm of that same mindset. I like to have clean space. Well, let's get into the segment. I know
Sure.
Hector had put together a great presentation, and Mike, our amazing graphic designer, kind of fluffed it up. So walk us through it, and it's all you. I'll hand it over to you.
Sweet. He did make it nice. Let's go through it. Is the presentation up somewhere I can see?
It will be on the screen on the live stream.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me know
So
when it's.
it'll be in the order that you had it on your deck. So it's going over the organization aspect first.
Sweet. So on the organization side, so you can see we have our QA director, and then you have your test manager, which is me. And then we have our embedded QA, and we have our external team. And that's more or less the simple breakdown of our team. On the left, I don't know if it's animating now, you can see the experience of our team, which is quite wide, from Blizzard to Riot to 6FOOT to Sony. We have a pretty diverse team. When I joined, the team was a whole 3, and now we're 11 people now. So it's pretty exciting how far we've
that's
gotten.
just internal. Yeah.
Correct. Our external team bounces between, I think, anywhere between 10 and 20, depending on how many people we need based on the project demands. Right now, as we shape up to launch P3, we're closer to wanting to be 15 to 20, and we ramp up and down. So we're very dynamic about how much people we have depending on what we need. So it's pretty cool, pretty awesome.
All right, we'll move on to the next segment here for you.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Fantastic. So we're looking at the QA team, right?
Yep.
Sweet. So we'll start with Keith. Keith is our econ embedded lead. So anything econ, he is our go-to. Anna is on everything world. So she focuses on anything that, if you've seen your Ember Springs, your world population, that is Anna. Next to her, we have Deco, who joined us from Activision. He is everything narrative. So your quests, your events, sweat off your brow, your famous and most favorite quest of all. Like that is Mr. Deco, making sure that sweat is always working. Then we have Ryan, GM Ryan. You've seen him in Discord, you've seen him in game. He's quite active and engaging with people and getting repro tips from all of you. So GM Ryan was in the industry for a while, came back and said, hey, I want to work on another MMO. So we brought Ryan on board and he's been fantastic working on the player combat team. So he's highly engaged. So he wanted to be GM Ryan today, not just Ryan. So that's super cool. We have Carl.
He didn't get enough punishment. He had to come back for more.
Yeah. Funny when I asked Ryan, I'm like, hey, do you want to be engaged with folks on PTR or beta? He's like, I don't know. Like he was hesitant. He's had a lot of missed experience. He's like, but let's warm you up on phase 3.
He's helped with a lot of the tests that we've done and
Yeah. He's been heavily involved. So I think as you see him now going towards eventually when we ship this game, Ryan is super engaged, super involved, and that's where we want to be. We want to be reactive and test with you. And sometimes we're showing our GM tags and sometimes we're not, but we're there actively always involved in testing and observing and sometimes just watching quietly in global chat as you send us bugs. So Ryan's quite involved. Carl is everything NPCs. So both foe and friendly NPCs. That is Carl. He works with the NPC team. Willis,
folks like his beard.
Yep. He has a great beard. Willis, have you seen multiple times on live streams? Willis is our tech QA. So anything, if you think of like World of Warcraft and Battle.net, he is basically all the backend for us. So he's one of our main contributors and leaders of tests for dynamic gridding. So
Yeah,
that is
Willis
Willis.
was here when we talked about dynamic gridding the previous stream. So shout out to Willis.
Yeah. And then we have Kenya, who works on everything web. He is on the quieter side. You don't get to see him a lot in game.
That's a lie. Kenya is constantly in the Discord and the questions channel answering questions. So much that at one point the community team was like, we should make this person volunteer mod. And I was like, he works at the company. He just didn't have the staff tag on his name.
And then I think we made a Reddit account for him and Michael to address the web bugs that were coming in.
Well, I didn't know Kenya was in Reddit dealing with the bugs and working through them. So
he got tired of me sending him screenshots of Reddit. It's like, what is this?
Yeah, that works. And Tom is one of the originals that was here when I joined. So Tom is on Central Services, and so is JB, who is our latest to join our Intrepid staff. Both of them work on what we call Central Services, which is UI, audio, tech art, and then now probably entitlements. But that's as a whole. They take care of everything that's not in a specific one team. So they share the Central Services relationship for all the things that come from those teams. Then we have Taylor and we have Chris. Taylor is not new to the industry, but new to Intrepid. Chris is new to Intrepid as about a year ago also, and they both tackle systems together. So Vassal, Ship, Crates, Node Level 4, they are the people that you've been seeing highly engage on PTR, setting up other scenarios for you to engage with and to help us test. So that's
I feel like
the
I've
team.
seen them a lot lately.
Yes,
I keep going into meetings with them.
They have the bulk of the testing on PTR right now, and Justo will be on later to talk about more of what that effort has been for nodes and Vassal, Ship, and Crate. So cool to round it out.
So now we're going to switch over to how we handle bugs. I know this has been a question a lot of people want to know. They're like, tell me where my bugs are. We're obviously not going to share all the bugs with you because that's stuff that we want to handle internally. But we can tell you how the process works so that you can kind of have a good understanding of the flow. And so I'll hand that up to you, Hector.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to start with just talking about PTR and our objectives with PTR and how that is working down in how we engage with our players, right? We are working day in and day out to make sure that everything that goes to PTR has a plan, has objectives, and has a way of how we want to engage with you, either from a, hey, help us make sure this is functional, or help us make sure this is fun, right? So every PTR scenario you see has a plan, has an objective, has results, and we are collating all that information. And then my team is responsible for helping the achievement of collecting all those bugs and making sure those bugs are prioritized so that next time you see PTR come back up again, they're fixed, right? We're trying to test and react to your feedback and your bugs as soon as possible.
And my
Now,
team's job is to compile the feedback sentiment side of it. So QA and community, we work very, very closely together.
Absolutely. And there's a couple of different paths that we ingest our bugs in, right? Slash bug is the most common path and the best path for us, because when you slash bug, we get your logs, we get your information, we give enough information to help us reproduce the issue. And we'll come back to the repro part, which is key to the reports, right? We also get Discord reports. Maggie helped us
It's not
make it
just
very
Discord, it's like all of the social platforms. But they depicted that as Discord here. So just as
yeah,
an
I'd
FYI.
like those are the three like big facets of where we get our bugs, right? And Discord, you made some specific channels for us where we can start threads. I've been engaged on Discord with some of you. Have noticed me and they're popping in there and asking questions, getting repro steps, asking videos. Slashbug doesn't capture videos right now; it's just screenshots. So I'll jump in there and say, "Hey, what are the things that I need from you to help me reproduce these issues?" Right? And then secretly, I sit in global chat. You're all talking about exploits, bugs, different things. And I don't know if they're always in slash bug, or I'll whisper you, hey, can you slash bug this, right? Those are the three facets where we get bugs. The best way for me to get bugs and reproduce them is slash bug in Discord. Global chat is less productive, right? So then we take all those bugs from a PTR scenario like the one we have today. We'll have our embedded team investigate, or we'll have our external team investigate. And we have like 5 people dedicated to just going through Sentry bugs every single day and asking, are these known issues? Are these new issues? And then extrapolating that. And then that becomes a conversation where daily we are triaging those issues. So Steven and I and leadership and directors sit daily and we're reviewing bugs for priority, severity, and impact to you. If they're highly impactful, they show up on their report and they're a common source of pain, the likelihood of those being fixed in the next PTR is high. However, reproducibility is always the friction of rubber meeting the road for us. If I can't repro it internally, or I can't repro it in editor, fixing that bug becomes much harder, right? So when we send bugs and slash bugs, having repro steps are giving us context as to what happened. What were you doing? Did it affect some? Was it everyone? Was it a few people? Really helps us diagnose and drill in really deep into understanding the root cause.
And remember,
So-
I'll pause there for a second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you want to say that?
no, I was just going to say, remember that reporting a bug doesn't mean that it's going to get fixed immediately. You can have some bugs that are ranked much lower in severity or priority, and as a result, it's not going to compete with the limited bandwidth that teams may have to address bugs within their sprint, because we are competing with the outstanding feature requirements that team needs to deliver on, as well as the outstanding content requirements as well. And that's why between milestones, we spend a couple of weeks or sprint just focused on hardening, where we buy down some of those the bug debt. And one of those periods of time is coming up here over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So that's why I said at the onset of the last segment that you expect to see some significant progress against a lot of those bugs here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I was going to go down that same line as Stephen, and maybe Hector, you can go into more details about,
Sure.
Stephen mentioned priority, severity, frequency, like that kind of stuff. So for instance, a lot of people are asking about the tank grapple, like what makes a bug go to like a sub-0 versus like a sub-2, right? And kind of go into like a little bit more detail about that process.
Sure. So let's talk about just generally when bugs come in, right? We use severity and we use priority, and the other qualifier we use is we try to quantify impact. How many people are impacted, right? Tank grapple, for example, is something that's come up as a bug. We want to fix it, but because the tank grapple itself in the scenarios and how it's used, we need to diagnose and how many people are impacted. How many people are impacted by this experience? Is it a bad experience, or can we tolerate that experience enough to give us space to fix the sub-zeros, right? And when I say Sub-Zero, it's like dynamic gridding, we want to work for phase 3. So if I have the situation of like tank grapple or a Sub-Zero, which is a critical failure that's going to impact everyone, then I have to make a choice and work with our partners and producers and leaders to say, do I fix the grapple or do I fix interactables that don't work when we split, for example, right now? Those are the things that I have to work daily to understand, is the value and effort for this bug the right objective that we're looking to achieve for the phase that we're in for development? And the answer isn't simply yes or no. It's what is the best choice, right? And sometimes it feels to like a shitty choice for that person that's playing a tank and is playing grapple. And it's not that we don't hear you, but we don't have an infinite amount of time. Where do we pick and where do we dial in?
Hector, I am loving
The chat is
The
going-
chat right
they're-
now is like,
they're
you
raging
fix
at
the
you."
tank grapple now.
Like
and
Stephen
you
and I
know,
are both like grinning because we're
I
laughing
am
because the
just
chat.
dying reading it.
Yeah.
And here's the disconnect, I'll say, for
Yeah.
a lot of the testing group, is we want to focus on why we're fixing bugs at this stage. There is a divide between having an experience that's enjoyable versus having a testing experience that lends to creating the game we want to be enjoyable. And while we feel it's acceptable to live with an interaction or a bug at this stage where it's not necessarily intended that we're trying to deliver an enjoyable experience that's going to retain players, we are focused on delivering core gameplay loops that we can either iterate on or prepare for broader development and production for the world, for the game world, and focusing in on addressing those core issues versus the enjoyable issues. A tank can continue to fulfill his role or their role while not being able to effectively use the chain pull. It is one ability in a class kit. It's an important one. It's an enjoyable one. We want for you to have fun with that. But when compared to dynamic gridding, or when compared to server performance, or when compared to, fundamental gameplay loop breaking bugs, it gets stacked ranked lower. And that's the role of QA and the directors and the leads to identify, as you're reporting these bugs, how does it rank against fulfilling the core Sub-Zero, Sub-1 core gameplay loop bugs? And unfortunately, the tank's grapple just doesn't stack up. And we have limited time and limited resources. We're not an infinitely manned team. We have 250 odd developers that are focused on creating this very large MMORPG. And so we have to be strategic in how we rank our priorities.
And not all of those are developers. Some people are community staff or QA staff or production staff. So I just want to be clear on that front too.
I like Robot says, totally understand, fix it.
I think
That's good.
I added a chat bubble here, and I know some people are gonna be potentially frustrated, maybe angry at me, and that's okay. It's part of the job. But we look at every single bug that comes in. Every bug that comes in is in our database. We will get to all the bugs, like the grapple bug,
Yes, we will.
eventually, right? It's just a matter of prioritizing what's important for the milestone that we're at.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
using our resources to complete the objectives that we're trying to hit. And it's not that we don't care. I care absolutely about every single bug. That's my
Oh,
job.
we
My
have
job
the
is
same pain.
my job is to care about every bug, and my job is to tell Steven, like, I want to fix this versus this other thing, and then we can go and have.
And my job is to come
Conversations,
into
yeah.
that meeting going, hey, fix tank grapple, because the community keeps saying it sucks, right? Like, so there's like multiple people in
Yes.
those triage meetings that are coming from different perspectives, right? Like
During-
I come from the player perspective, Hector's coming from the quality assurance perspective, Steven's coming from the development perspective, and so on and so forth. And a decision has to be made, right, on where these things stack rank.
And if I had a nickel for every time I've screamed about the tank pull effect, I'd have several quarters. But the reality is, it just, when faced with the other prioritizations and the limited resources, that we have to rank them.
My door is open. My Discord is open. If you're
Don't say that,
passionate about,
Hector, you-
I mean, I part of this conversation I had with Steven months ago, I'm like, I want to be more front facing. I want to be part of the loop of test and react, and I want to engage. That's part of why I enjoyed. I enjoy working at Intrepid, and why I enjoyed this team is because I wanted to be front facing. I wanted to be part of this endeavor that nobody has done, which is we're testing, we're shipping,
Yes.
we're in an alpha, and we're trying to polish and find that balance, and it's challenging. But I also want to engage heavily with our players and say like, hey, this feels like shit. Tell me, right? Pardon the French, right? I want to know, because if you're loud in my ear, I'm going to go and inspect that and make a decision and inform Steven and our directors and our leadership.
Well, let's transition that into how
Now you're going to
how
get a lot
people
of
can
loud
help.
players on the tank grapple.
So let's transition that to like our next slide
Sure.
here, which is about how you can help from a player or tester perspective, and go over that process. And then we also have a little bit of a surprise and delight that we want to share as well.
Sure. So your reports equate to a better game, right? And that's fundamental how we want to shape and polish this game when we ship, right? Your reports will make this game better, and you will shape, helping me identify and fix the issues that are important based on the milestones we're trying to achieve. When you're /bug reporting, the minimum you can provide is what you did. So what steps you were doing when that thing happened and when it broke or when you found a defect. And I also need to know what happened. How did that feel? Was it fun? There's a big box in there. If you can say, like, I can't complete my quest, so I'm blocked. I invested 6 hours in this quest, and now I'm stuck with no rewards. That is valuable to me, very valuable, because it provides context into like what was your experience, right? For a great report, I want one of those. I don't have one yet. Great reports for me are gonna help me understand where you blocked. How often is this happening? And was it just you, or was it everyone? How many people are impacted? Because there's a single person, there's a high chance I'm like, well, that's a great bug, but it's impacting just you. I'm probably not going to prioritize it in the current milestone, but it's affecting, for example, greater than 50% of our player base. I'm gonna go and say like, we should probably fix this, even if it's a Sev 2.
Yep.
All right. And with that, we got a little surprise. So for you all who are testing with us over this weekend, and just so you know, the PTR is available to everyone who has access to Alpha 2. So if you are an Alpha 2 user, you have access not only just to Alpha 2, but also to the PTR realm. We will be doing some testing that's going to start actually on August 1st, which will be Friday. And it will continue into Saturday and Sunday. And then on Monday morning, we're going to be pulling the logs to decide who will get these things. But as a little surprise and delight, we're going to be rewarding some testers with a Shatterclaw, the mount version of it. And I think we have a nice little image of that. And this is going to be the mount version of it. This was a pet that was purchasable through our pre-order packages, but there's going to be a mount version for this. It has a little mount saddle.
Very rare mount. And it's going to be exciting because starting on Friday on the PTR test, running until Sunday, we are going to be focused on 4 primary methods to achieve this mount. Is that correct? I think.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And the first and foremost is going to be the player who acquires the most amount of gold over the test period, along with the player who acquires the most amount of materials, raw materials, within the play period. And finally, the player who achieves the most amount of experience gained, adventuring experience gained over the play period. And those 3 players will be rewarded with this mount, which is a very cool ass mount. And that will be on their account forevermore, even into the live launch of the game. And then the 4th method of acquisition is going to be through successfully identifying significant exploits during the weekend and being the first to report it through the /bug command.
Report it with reproducible steps. Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
Yes,
And
that's the key.
Don't exploit it, just report it. I mean, if you do it a couple times to make sure that you got the reproducible steps, that's great. But that will be, those will be the 4 ways in which you can get them. On Monday, we'll be reviewing the logs, we'll be reviewing the reports from the exploits, and QA will go over and try to make sure that those things are completed and looking good. And then we will be reaching out to folks and granting. This will actually be an item that will be on your account. So as the game launches, you will have access to this mount cosmetic.
And we'll have a official page or forum post or something, I assume probably before tomorrow's test opens, that outlines what we just discussed, Margaret.
Yeah, we can put that with our messaging that goes out with the
Awesome.
Cool. Well,
Cool.
that is that. Hector, is there any like final words that you would like to share with the audience before we wrap up? I mean, obviously that's a nice little nicety that people are going to be excited about.
I'm excited. I was anxious when we started the conversation. It's my first time here on the live.
I was like,
but
you'll be fine. We got you.
I'll be fine. I'll be fine. This is part one of, I hope, many, many instances of talking about how we're engaging and testing and reacting on PTR. There's a lot of fun conversations I'm having with Steven about achievements, different things we want to do to incentivize and surprise and
I think
delight
not just
people.
only on PTR, but on like just in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have some
Yeah.
little bug hunting programs and things like that that we are going to be chatting about as well.
Yeah, as our entitlement system spins up, like we want to start looking at how we can help reward those people that are really invested in helping us make this game great, right?
So all of those slash bugs you've been putting in, we've been calculating them. Just
Yeah,
putting that out there.
I don't quite have the parameters of like the achievements and how we're gonna surprise and delight all the way through live, but Steven and I are gonna figure that out. And once we
Ready.
have more updates, we'll come back on and we'll do some more lives. And if you guys have any more questions, please let me know. I'm happy to come online again or hit me up on Discord.
Awesome.
right.
Thank you,
With
Hector.
that, Hector, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you being here and, of course, all the work that you do with us. We're going to take a quick short break and bring on Chris and Bill to talk about towns and crates, and we're actually going to hop in game for that segment. So we'll see you all in just a moment.
Adios. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome back. We have some additional faces, ones that you've seen before if you've joined us for many times before. But for those of you who are kind of new to our streams, Bill, will you introduce yourself? And then when you're done, Chris, introduce yourself as well, just so new folks can know who you guys are and what you do here.
Sure. My name is Bill Trost. I'm the director of design here at Intrepid. I've been with Intrepid for about 2 years now, and looking forward to sharing what we have here with all of you.
You know, when you first started, people were just begging for you to come on the stream. We had them wait for so long. And so when the first time you came, they're like, finally.
Well, and I did want to say also at the top that I've been pestering Hector about Grapple. He's just a
Our
roadblock.
true hero of the people.
He's being sarcastic for those of you who don't. No, don't go after Hector.
Perfect, capitalized on the opportunity.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
Howdy. I'm Chris Justo. I have been at Intrepid for 5.5 years and some change, I think, at this point. I'm one of the lead systems designers here. I'm the node man.
The
The
Node Man.
Man.
Speaking of nodes, we're gonna actually transition right now. We wanted y'all to see their lovely faces, but we're gonna transition to in-game.
Chris, the
And
people want to know what your stand is on Grapple.
I love Grapple.
I love Grapple. You want to pitch right away too?
Yeah, I'm a rogue player. One of my
Okay.
favorite abilities.
Perfect.
it is pretty awesome.
All right. So this is exciting because we haven't had a update to node stages in quite some time.
I feel like we
Um,
haven't been in-game on our live stream in a little bit.
Were we in game last? Were we in game last stream?
I don't think we were.
Were we not? Oh,
I
maybe
don't
we
think
weren't.
so.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
we shared some
fair.
videos, but we didn't go
Fair.
in-game. Yeah.
So, Chris, I mean, we did make an announcement. I think it was a couple of months ago that we had removed the. Now I believe it is the Metropolis stage. We are now
Yep.
calling it Town to City, I believe. Is that
Yep,
correct?
correct.
All right. So that's exciting. Players, you had an opportunity to opine in the vote for that. And obviously it was evident that a large majority of you wanted to see that progression be village, town, and then city. So here we are looking at the town. And as you can see, obviously up in front here, the primary gates, the entrance into the node, is a mega structure of stone, which is quite a departure from the village already. So
Yep.
that's exciting. Talk to me, Chris, a little bit about the footprint. I mean, how much bigger is this than a village? And I know we're going to be walking through this in a little bit, but talk to me about the size difference.
Yeah,
Also, this
it's
is the Shatterclaw mount that we're giving away.
Oh, true,
The cosmetic.
true.
Go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
all good. Yeah, towns are significantly bigger, right? We kind of break nodes up into what we call like cells or districts. A village is really only like 2 cells, and we're basically doubling the size of that to 4 for this what we've currently have implemented for town.
Very exciting. And
and
this
then-
isn't even the full size of that, right? Because we're
Correct.
still missing static in-node housing as part of the node layout.
Yeah, exactly. And that will probably double it again, because houses, we want to make sure there's enough, and they can grow up to pretty big footprints.
I'm gonna start walking in a little bit.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
now just to give you guys insight, we are currently on the on our development stream actually. So you're seeing stuff that's not even present on the PTR with today's update. And then one caveat is we have done a significant overhaul with our lighting solution in game for time of day. You're gonna see that was literally committed yesterday. And what it's doing is it's nativizing a lot of some of the outstanding blueprints that were part of the time of day solution. So there's going to be some bugs to work through there. You're going to see some darker shadows than normal. That's expected being on the dev environment. It's something that will get addressed before we get to PTR. But
And it's making some things more saturated and some things more like exposed. So
yeah, I notice here, Bill and Chris, that we have some things on our back. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
You want to go
What?
for it, Bill? Or you want me to
Sure.
do it?
Well, I mean, it's the awesome new crate system. This is a whole nother gameplay loop that we've added to the game. Really, that everybody can take advantage of. Yeah, but I'll let you get into the details of it.
Yeah, so we used to have what we called the cargo system, which were materials that got placed on caravans, and primarily was used in our commodity system to take from node to node to make, money. We've decided we want to ground that in world a little more with, actual physical objects that you can carry. So the cargo system is generally going away and being replaced with this crate system. They still can go on caravans and be taken in higher quantities than just one on your back. We've broken it into different sections of crates. There's still personal crates that you can put your own materials in, basically function as additional inventory space. We have construction crates, which is a new kind of crate used to help with construction projects around the node and eventually on your freeholds. And then we still use commodity crates as things you can take from node to node or harbor to harbor or lawless zone to lawless zone to, make different kinds of rewards based on different multipliers, like how far you took it, what economic regions you're in, and how many people have turned in at those locations.
Just to jump in there a little bit, Chris, like what, and one of the reasons for this is, one of our tenants is that Vera is a real place. And so, as we're always, implementing features initially and then looking at them, review them, hearing feedback, we want to make more and more things feel like they're happening in a real world. Always favoring gameplay over reality, but still, enforcing the believability and immersiveness of the world. And so that's one of the reasons for the construction crate as an example of as a type, because we want it to feel more like you're actually contributing in a meaningful way and not just playing the game entirely in a UI window. We want you to feel like you're impacting the world.
And this is also a good point to bring up with regards to, that disparity, Bill, is that crates have for a long time been an intended system that we just did not bring on because, as in our last segment we discussed, the prioritization of ensuring that the gameplay loops are feasible doesn't necessarily always relate to them being as enjoyable as necessary for us to test certain components of it. Now that we feel the trading system has gone through some testing with phase 1 and phase 2, we prioritize the development of this crate feature so that we ground this system more in the world, as Bill's talking about. And that's what we want to collect feedback with as phase 3 approaches, is, what's it like to move these crates around the world, to have them actually interactable, something that you pick up and move around and deposit into those storage components that might be on a ship or on a caravan, something that you actively walk up to buildings and commit to as part of construction. Like, all of that interaction now is much more immersive with the physicality of these crates being in world.
And there are different sizes of crates too. I don't know if you mentioned that yet, Chris. So it's not like a player is able to haul around the largest things in the game on their back.
Yeah, we'll still, like, relics are technically crates, right? And there might be relics that are too big for you to just put on your back and walk back to the node, right? You'll still have to haul them. There might be big resources you can find out in the world that are too big to put on your back and you need to call a caravan for.
Chris, I don't know where I'm going, by the way. Do you want
This way.
Take me somewhere? Okay,
Do
cool.
you want to see, so you'll notice that all three of you have a very similar looking crate on your back. That's a construction crate. We have a building in this node ready for construction. So if you guys follow me, I can take you there. So one of the changes to construction that we're making is expansions used to be, for service buildings, used to be done holistically through voting via citizens, but we've added construction to that process to kind of, make it like you're contributing, like we're talking about, part of a breathing world. So we have a laboratory over here that is ready for expansion, and a little birdie told me it only needs 3 more mining crates to finish its expansion.
I'm sorry, I found a
Well,
pig. and a
how
child.
ironic. We have 3 with us.
That's not irony. That's scripting.
So, Stephen, if you want to walk up to here, you'll notice that there are multiple interact points on this scaffolding here.
I am just a noble dwarf, having brought with me the supplies. I think I might have a commodity crate on, actually. I don't know if I have. Oh, yeah, I do have the construction crate. Okay, cool. I have the construction crate. Let's take a look. So I can take a look first at the contribution requirements.
Yes.
Is that
So
accurate?
if you press V, you'll be able to open up the contribution requirements.
Oh my God, look at all this work that people have put in already, knowing that we would arrive here with exactly the required amount to complete it?
Yeah.
That's wild. What are the odds?
Kismet.
Okay, so you get to get some insight as to what the building requires in order to complete. So for those of you who are in guilds, that you are citizens of the node, these are obviously group efforts to complete these constructions. They come with benefits for citizens that might reduce price of the cost of goods or services that the building is going to offer. And of course, these specific building upgrades are an important and integral component of what makes your node unique to attract traffic and gameplay from players so that you can stay competitive with the other nodes that are trying to also achieve that parenthood of vassalship.
This
So
also
now,
lets you see like what your actual immediate contributions, how they affect the overall versus, giving something to your mayor and having to wait on your mayor to take an action.
yeah, so am I just going to press F now to interact, and it's going to deploy?
Go ahead, press F, and you'll see what happens.
Surprise!
Oh, look at that. We've done it. We've deployed the construction into the building.
So it probably needs 2 more.
Okay, all right. And we will get the
I'm
weapons
working.
despawned. Yeah,
Okay.
where's my whip?
So there's a little bit of delay after you contribute. So you can call your friends over and sit here and watch it turn over. You'll notice inside the building the services are still active because this is an expansion. So we didn't.
Oh, it changed.
Oh.
Sweet.
The scaffolding goes away, and now we have upgraded this. In a few
Ooh.
seconds here, the alchemy station should pop in, and it will be a master alchemy station instead of a journeyman.
Ooh, where's it gonna pop in?
Right here, we just don't want to stand in it.
Oh, don't stand. Nobody stand in it.
Wait, what?
Wait.
While we wait for it, Steven, if you press N,
Okay.
you'll
I'm not
notice-
I'm not a citizen.
you'll notice our fancy new bulletin board stuff.
They
for
spelled my last name wrong, by the way. Here, it's an A and one F. No, sorry,
you can open up the bulletin board for the node we're in.
Wait,
no. Okay.
It's
He's
Bulletin
making a joke
board.
because it's the sheriff.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Sharif.
Yeah.
Which one am I going to?
So for Kaltorum, in the top little right of its banner,
Oh, look, it popped in. Very cool. Okay, I see the bulletin board.
so go to buildings.
Okay.
It's the tab on the bulletin board.
Yep, I'm in buildings. Oh, you just
And
have
then-
a delay on stream.
Yep, and if you go into the laboratory section,
Got
there's
it.
a laboratory building. That's the one we just upgraded.
Ooh, very nice. So it shows the node cost for the maintenance, and then it has these items under it.
Those are the maintenance costs, but if you click on building upgrade, you can see what upgrades it has available for it after this one.
Oh, very
Fancy.
nice. Very nice.
And this is where, we're talking about those benefits that are citizen only. So one of the structural changes we made to the trees is every other upgrade is an upgraded station, but the upgrades in between them are different buff specializations that apply to both non-citizens and citizens, but citizens get an upgraded version of that benefit.
Give me the alchemy rarity, baby.
So we just completed the Master Alchemist Lab 1 upgrade.
Correct.
Very nice. And of course, this is all part of how you want to specialize these buildings. It's not just building the building, but it's also determining the upgrade path as a skill tree. And that's going to provide, obviously, some significant diversity for the nodes that elect to build the same building types, but maybe perhaps follow different upgrade paths.
Correct.
we're gonna
Very
need a lot more crates.
We're,
Yeah.
we're going to need a bigger boat. I love this. This is awesome.
Now, I have one more thing. I have a gift for you, Steven, if you come
Ooh.
outside.
Okay. All right. All right.
What?
Let me
What
do
if
he
some
doesn't come
backflips over
outside?
here.
I gotta get my drop crate skill out.
Ooh, yes, please. I'm ready.
So I have, for those of you who are astute, I have a different crate than everyone else. This is a commodity crate. I'll drop it for you, Steven.
Nice.
So-
Okay.
If you press F, you can pick it up.
Oh, but if I press V, I could bust it.
Don't bust it.
Oh,
Oh.
We
okay.
want to show. We want to show the cool stuff that
All right.
it
well,
can do.
Fine.
Done.
So if you
I'm
That's
making
a
a
bug,
note
by
that
the
you didn't
way.
give me a gift though, Justo.
Just-
in
ju-
hold on. I can fix that.
That's a bug. Nobody look at that. Nobody look at
Saw
this
nothing.
remaining crate. We just found an
Where's
exploit.
Hector?
We have a duping bug. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't actually interact with it though, so I think
Ah.
it's just lingering.
So if you open your character sheet,
Done.
you will see in the bottom right
Ooh, this is for the traders. They get some insight.
the crate you have equipped. If you shift left click it, you can
Right.
open up the like commodity pricing window, and it'll show you what other nodes around you are accepting it for.
Ooh,
Ooh,
look at
that's nice.
that. Nobody look at the sell prices. Those are borked right now. Those will be fixed by Friday though.
Holy
There
You're
is-
saying
there is a
we're gonna get
balance
a
pass.
1,000,000%?
No.
sweet.
So
5 million?
if we head down to the marketplace, we can go ahead and sell this
50.
commodity,
don't go to
and
the
you
open
can hit
ocean.
gold cap.
That's what I'm saying.
True. Open ocean would be problematic. But
I'll
there will
protect
be
you.
there will be resource nodes that also give you crates that you can find as perhaps even some objectives or maybe some future fishing 2.0 changes. We'll see. Okay, where am I going? I'm sorry.
We're going to the marketplace.
Oh, okay.
I should probably walk because I'm way faster than you now.
Oh yeah. Or should I jump on my
You
my
can-
dude?
I've
Yeah,
lost
jump on
you.
I've
Come
done
this
it.
way.
Sweet.
Come this way. Okay. We're with you now.
Let me dash.
Hey, over here. The caravanserai assistant wants to talk to us.
We're not talking to him today.
Uh,
This is cool. I like it.
Like the little shops.
There's still a lot of outstanding polish, guys, to do on both the set dressing for the node as well as some of the material works. We're seeing a little bit of a bug here with some of the stone work, but it's going to be pretty awesome soon here.
Why is he hiding behind the building back here?
Because he's shady. No,
He's
he's
very
not.
shady.
Oh, I think he is shady. Or she is shady. Or
They're
he's shady. I
So
like his hair though.
you'll notice if you get off your mount, the interact for him just says sell crate. He doesn't open up a vendor
Ooh.
window anymore. So if you do that, it'll do a little pop-up and show you what you'll get for it.
By the way, I see we have some beautiful updates to the character models and armor as well. I mean, it's starting to look pretty nice. Character Creator got a nice little revamp too. Sorry, I'm just giving some plug outs to the team. Okay, so let me do a sale here. Are you sure you want to sell the crate of succulent fruit? That does sound rather good. Sale price 0. You know, this fruit's actually expired, so they can have it.
Oh no,
Oh no, there was an issue selling it.
it's
Oh, no.
bugged.
Is it bugged? Oh. That's okay. He didn't want my fruit anyways. More fruit for me.
But
No, we'll get these fixed. But what's intended there obviously is that, you know, I would be able to make a sale here and receive a reward relatively with
Yep.
ease, so that when in the future we have vehicles or additional party members who are joining us on the journey to transit these crates around the world, it's going to be a relatively seamless process to engage with these NPCs and vendors and turn them in.
the other change here is that you don't buy these commodities anymore. You craft them at commodity stations.
And that's exciting.
So there's one here for mountain-born songhorns is the market commodity that gets offered here.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, I see a commodity certificate, what's required in order to craft the crate, and certification requirements. Very cool. That's awesome. I'm digging it. I like how now anytime we have a bug, I just see in chat, Hector!
Yeah, they're like, "Hector!" Poor Hector.
Poor Hector. Very cool. This is great. I'm digging the visuals of the town. You know, once we get a little bit more polish in here, and I'm also loving the crate system. I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
And
I'm
here's
excited.
and this is a empty plot, and there's the little scaffolding here. That's how you'll contribute to building something on the plot, right?
So yeah, the scaffolding, this like stripe scaffolding is specifically for construction projects. These ones here are actually Node XP construction projects. So that's a new thing we've added to the nodes, where there are these little construction projects around the node that you can contribute to that the mayor doesn't initiate. And when you get rewards for participating in it, and then when it's done, it provides XP to the node towards its level up. And
Ooh, that's
also
cool.
That's
pops
a
in a
big
little bit of
change.
set dressing.
So that's a big change. You know, previously, and this will be something interesting to see as part of phase 3, but previously nodes passively acquired experience from players. Now they continue to passively acquire the experience from players, but there are also objectives that come out of the box with the new node that players can engage with from a material transit system, that being the crates, and perhaps get a competitive advantage over their other competing nodes in a race to who can level up first.
Yeah, and we have kind of 3 classifications of them: small, medium, and large, with different, you know, expectations for the amount of players that have to participate in it to, you know, level or to build these XP projects within a reasonable amount of time.
Love it.
And then this
All right.
big open space here, as you mentioned, Bill, is an empty plot that has nothing in construction right now. So our mayor's been slacking. Don't look at who the mayor is. It's not me, I promise.
Sure. With that, I think that wraps up this segment, and we'll be going into some live Q&A. Do you want to do the live Q&A in game, Stephen, or do you want to swap over to cams?
We can swap over to cams.
Okay. All right. We'll swap over there. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Obviously with live demos, you never know what you're gonna get. But it was working. Justo and I ran through this yesterday and this morning, so
Working on my machine.
it was working on my machine, yeah. We don't have a ton of questions this time around, but the first one here is, are there plans to more closely couple the character level progression to node building progression? For example, do we want there to be very few level 20 plus characters before the apprentice benches are up? And this has been a discussion I've seen in the community a lot, is like things being leveled up before people can use it, and that kind of stuff, or whatnot.
I mean, that obviously is a very difficult paradigm to balance. I'm not sure that, I mean, we have a progression schedule that we expect for new servers to accommodate. That's going to be something we consistently tune, especially as we collect new data from the start of these new servers and new phases. However, it is intended that this particular system be available and accessible regardless of whether or not the server is new, because these nodes are intended to be recycled and destroyed via siege destruction, and potentially pop up new ones later in the game when all the players, you know, or a large majority of the player base is beyond that intended access point. So we need to make sure that it's feasible regardless of if it's accompanying the new server start or if it is later in the game. But yes, we do have a plan there, and we do tune it based on data we receive.
All right, the next one is, how will the size of pets compare to mounts? Will pets be the same size as like the special mount assets mentioned on stream before?
So it depends on the pet that we're talking about, especially with regards to the summoner. The summoner has 3 base pet classes that we've talked about in the past when we did our deep dive on the summoner design. And the size is part of what makes the silhouette identifiable. So it's going to range. The support class is probably the least in width, but perhaps the medium in height. The guardian class is going to be the largest in width and probably height, and the DPS is probably going to be the smallest of the 3, I would say. But that's part of defining the shape language of these pets, so that at a distance there's an availability for threat assessment of the opposing player in PvP, and that they share different spaces. is. I don't know, Bill, if you want to opine further.
Yeah, I
on
mean,
that.
I just say like and it's something that we're iterating on. Like we're pushing the boundaries. Like I already saw one that was
Oh, I
super
told them to-
cool, but
I told them to
clearly
scale
too
that
big.
down. Yeah, I had them scale that down by like half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and it's so it's something that we they have to be able to navigate all the places that the players can go, and so it's that is a constraint that we have.
Yeah.
All right. The next one here is how many in-node player houses will node stage 4 and 5 hold? Will they be added at the same time as either of the node stages?
Chris, you want to tackle that one?
I don't remember the math off the top of my head. Basically, static in node housing will be relatively limited. If I remember correctly, I think we're at 55 at a
City.
city. But there's also the instance housing, which will provide more options for more players, right?
Yeah. And that's
Alright.
something obviously that's going to be highly tunable as we
Yeah.
get in and test with them.
And then we have, are there going to be any big unchoppable trees in Vera to add scale and verticality to the environments,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the jungles and anvils, for example?
Or the Heartwoods. Yeah, absolutely. There are going to be, of course, hero assets that help to sell the foliage and identity that we want. Some of the canopy trees in the June Dark are examples of that. We don't preclude ourselves from having the option to include those types of assets in the game just because we have a robust gathering system. So it's something we want to make sure we still provide as a tool for the environment artist to properly set dress and create a compelling and immersive environment.
And then we have, what plans does Intrepid have for catering to role players? Do you believe the more intense PvP and efficiency-driven players will smother world-building focused players? So those
I,
two
I
questions,
hope
really.
not, because I consider myself a member of both of those categories of player. From the PVX perspective of our goals, we obviously want to have an audience that is relatively eclectic, and RP, of course, is an important part of our audience as well as PvP players, and they both can be audiences of each other. So it's important that we provide them the tools to properly express themselves as part of gameplay.
The next one is, why did we decide to go with a multi-interact for interactables?
Well, there are different types of interactions that are possible for the same actor. A good example of that, obviously, is the crate system. We just saw that you could pick up a crate or you could break down a crate. Another example of that might be a particular type of foliage where you could potentially fruit the tree, chop down the tree, or something
sap.
else. It gets sap, exactly. And so we want that availability. Of course, interactables is a very prevalent part of the gameplay experience, both from a narrative perspective as well as an econ perspective. And we are going through a significant revamp of our narrative systems, including the interactable system. So it's likely on PTR you're going to see some new bugs get introduced as part of that process if you haven't already. But it is something that we are focused on making sure lands correctly for the start of phase 3. I shouldn't have had that coffee this morning. I apologize.
You're talking so fast today. You are really. I never really noticed it until someone brought it up the other day. I was like, he does talk really fast. I've just been so used to
I
that.
just got to get to the next meeting. That's the problem.
We do have another meeting, so I'm trying to be conscious of that time. Then we have, when can we expect secondary archetypes to make their way into the game?
Definitely not in the next milestone. It is something that we obviously want to first complete all of the base archetypes. Summoner is still outstanding with that regard. But in addition, we have an audit pass that we want to make on the base archetype abilities. That's still outstanding. We want to touch up some of the base archetypes as well. We have focuses on. And then on top of that, we have a skill tree revision that's necessary to introduce ranks and properly balance the types of passive abilities, as well as just general tuning from a balance perspective across the base archetypes. So that's what we're going to be focused on first before we start delving into creating the secondary archetype, the class.
Yeah, it gives people some more context
Yeah.
as we move forward. And then we've got right now I'm going to slim this question down because your question was quite large. Right now, the progression between levels 1 to 10 in crafting feels slow to this person, especially since there aren't any rewards or milestones along the way. Are there any plans to revisit the reward structure or progression pacing for crafting? Is what they're asking.
There is, of course. It is not a completed system yet. And the progression model, the skill trees for professions is something that we purposefully have left in a very placeholder state. So, of course, there is a lot of outstanding work in order to properly develop that. Our focus right now is on the base components of the artisanship loop, from properly gathering, addressing processing recipe costs and time, as well as the crafting side of things. Once we feel that we have nailed that, and a big part of changes are coming down the econ revamp part of P3 entrance, then we will start moving on to things like expanding out the profession skill trees. From a reward profile, there are going to be some changes to our reward tables as part of the econ revamp, and some of the progression rewards as well, delivered either through narrative content systems or through drops in the world. Bill, if you want to expand on that at all.
Yeah, just and you know, recipe changes. So we're constantly looking at and tuning the feel and the progression of crafting, and for sure, we feel the pain, and it should be, we're constantly striving to improve that and make it feeling more rewarding at every level. And part of, it's just a long process, and it's a complicated web of systems that we have. So it's going to take some time before we get to what we call is great, right? And that's our goal.
Yes.
All right, and we have our final question, or maybe penultimate question, because I'm going to ask one more before we wrap up. Otherwise, we'll be here all day if we answer all questions. How far out do you feel we are from node destruction?
That's a good question. It is definitely a core component of the node gameplay loop. It is the recycle component. We have, of course, with many of our systems, opted to do a more difficult approach, but one that we feel ultimately will be more satisfying and fun. And that is the alluded to battleground state that occurs after the destruction phase, which is a big component of node destruction. Whether or not that's something that we deliver on by the end of this year or sometime early next year, that is something that is still a question in our minds, and that we have a healthy debate around from a prioritization standpoint. So no commitments quite yet on when that's going to arrive, but we do know that it is an important part of this process, or the part of the loop.
Right.
And I know
And
Chris is sitting
I
there
saw his little
saying, "Yes,
grin.
now, please."
Yeah, exactly.
I want to kill nodes.
It gives us that
Chris is always
cyclical,
yeah,
process.
Chris is always a healthy advocate, which is the important part of Chris's role. That's why he's the node man. As Bill and my minds go everywhere else from a design perspective, Chris is there on the system side saying, "Nodes, mine, nodes, mine, please."
And after that penultimate question, we have our final question, which is, when are we getting recipe changes for the econ update that we mentioned previously?
They're coming in with the econ update. So
Yes.
it's all a big complicated bowl of goodness that's gonna be exposed at the beginning of P3.
And I
Yeah,
believe
just to
Friday's
give
test is like kind of a start of testing some of those economy changes as well.
Yeah.
So if you're joining us on the PTR, you will get to see some of that stuff coming in. It won't be everything, but you'll see that stuff trickling in starting as of tomorrow, August 1st.
Yeah, I mean, as Margaret said, there's going to be a chunk that we're going to be testing this weekend. There's going to be some additional things that we'll test next week, and then finally we will get everything in by the end of the week after that. And then we will spend
On PTR.
up until the 26th. Correct. That's correct. Everything I'm talking about is on PTR right now, just for context. But as Bill said, like, from a tuning / balance perspective, the economy is the most intertangled web and the one that's least tolerant of mistakes and or issues, and the hardest to roll back when those mistakes and or issues creep into the to the test. So we want to make sure we're spending a good amount of time getting the work in, but also testing, and you guys being a part of that and us helping to incentivize it with reward structures like we just announced for this weekend, I think is going to create a very healthy test scenario.
All right, and that wraps us up for our July development update. As always, thank you all for joining us. Please join us for our Alpha 2 if you're interested. Obviously, if you're not interested in the testing phase, that's okay too. But if you are interested in joining us on our journey, you can head on over to ashesofcreation.com and check out all the information over there, as well as leaving us feedback over on our forums and our Discord and all the places. We are Ashes of Creation everywhere. We try to be really active, so if you follow us in all of those, you'll definitely interact with us in various different places. A big thank you to all of you for viewing. Even those of you who are watching us later over on YouTube, or if you double watched in both places, add a little 2 in the comments down below. We always love that.
Nice.
Giving us all the love, feeding the algorithms, because, you know.
Just unabashed, Margaret. I
Yeah.
love it.
Hey man, feed the
No, no, it's
algorithms.
great.
That's
It's
how.
so
That's the
good.
only way.
Please, yes.
That's how the interwebs goes, man.
That is funny.
Of course, thank you, Zach and Hector and Bill and Chris, for your time. We know that you guys, it is very valuable. You need to be working on other stuff too. And Stephen, who is probably booked for 5 meetings at the same time as this live stream. Stay healthy and safe, and we will see you on Vera soon. Toodles.
Woo, thanks guys. Bye.